here we are on the List podcast. I'm your host, Kevin Buzzolino. With me, as always, is our opinionated list maker, Sean Preller. How are you tonight, Sean?
Oh, I'm in a great mood.
Oh, man. I guess in the other 3 episodes he was pissed off.
I was.
But tonight, he's in a good mood. So, what are we going to talk about tonight, Sean?
Astrology, I think, is a subject no one thought we would cover.
Yes. So tonight on the List podcast, the only podcast that's recorded while my girlfriend's at work, we're going to talk about zodiac signs. Sean, let's see your list on zodiac signs.
Yeah, so it's all bullshit. Yeah.
Oh, all right. So we're back on the List podcast. All right, Sean. Hopefully you're in a better mood now. What are we going to talk about this evening?
Today, because the whole zodiac signs thing didn't pan out, I guess we'll talk about something else. We both like video games. Why don't we talk about that?
Yeah, I mean, speaking as a child of the 90s, am I a
Oh, I
child
am
of the
too.
90s or are you a child
I
of the
feel
90s?
like you're a child of the 80s.
Yeah, see, like, I don't remember the 80s, so I feel like I'm a child
I
of the
remember
90s.
the 90s too.
Alright, I'm a child of the 80s. Speaking as a child of the 80s, I love video games. Let's talk about video game consoles.
Okay, great. So am I gonna just go through my list here?
Yeah, if you
Okay,
want to
like
do
that.
your list, and then I have also made a list for this evening, so
Okay.
it's really great.
All right. So I'll just start around in the middle somewhere. Let's say I have 19 kind of blocks, different generations of consoles to cover, and so at number 10 I have the Nintendo Switch.
Nintendo Switch, current console, great console.
Yes, I actually own one, and I just think it's really cool that you can like pick it up, take it with you whenever you want to, take it somewhere else. You don't need to just leave it at the one TV or what have you. I find myself just taking it up. I have mine stationed in the basement. I take it up then into the living room. So while I'm watching TV or something like that, or just have background noise on, I want to spend time with the dog. I can have my Switch there with me, and it just, the only issue with it is a lot of the content, the games are not really the same quality that you have with the other consoles at this time.
With the current generation consoles.
Yeah, they're kind of
But it's the most versatile console currently, right?
Right, and that seems to be Nintendo's niche is making consoles that you can use in weird situations or something like that, and you're not just stuck there holding a controller, staring at a TV screen at the same place.
Yeah.
Every time.
And they've got a good library of older stuff too, right? You can play older generations.
Yeah. So serves as a great introduction for like if you don't have some of those games, they offer for free a whole slew of original Nintendo and Super Nintendo games for you to download.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I mean, out of the like 900 or so consoles that exist over the last 40 years at this point, Switch coming in at number 10 is pretty good, I think. So.
Well, I only have 19, so I have most of them, I guess. And then at number 9, which is there again in the middle of the list, is the Super Nintendo. So right above that, I have the Super Nintendo. This is really just like my first console. So that's kind of why I put it right there in the middle. Is everything's either better or worse than that.
Yeah.
Played the heck out of the Super Nintendo, and it was a long time before I got another console. But this is like back before I was really into video games. So I played the crap out of that Marvel's War of the Gems. That was like my game one. That and like the Super Mario Kart.
Yeah, that was pretty much all I ever played was Mario Kart. But God, I loved Mario Kart. I can't think of when the Super Nintendo came out, but I just remember playing Mario Kart like crazy on that thing.
Yeah. So right above that, weirdly enough, I have at number 8 the PlayStation 3 and the Xbox 360. I have both, at that position, because you can like swap them out, kind of, in my opinion. whereas you can't necessarily do that with some of the other consoles that came out in the same generation. These two were pretty much, they had a lot of the same games, whereas the Xbox 360 had, you know, Halo, whatever, 2, 3, I don't know.
Yeah.
The PS3 would have had, you know, your God of War or something like that. So,
Yeah.
you know, pick and choose whatever you like.
Yeah.
I owned a PS3 and I currently own an Xbox 360, although I got it after the fact.
Yeah.
I bought a bunch of Halo games for it and some Gears of War, and it's a nice console.
Yeah.
So I can see, you know.
I mean, based on my notes, the Xbox 360 actually came out the year before the PS3. Xbox 360 was actually 2005. PS3 apparently 2006. So it was probably like late in the year 2005, beginning of the year 2006, something like that.
I remember the conversation being that the Xbox 360 was winning the console wars. Remember, this is like the age of when everybody was just like, you know, pick one and
Right.
stick with it.
Right.
So I obviously was kind of like a PlayStation kid,
Right.
just because, you know, I kind of got used to the PlayStation. But the Xbox 360 was winning early on, and then the PlayStation 3 came in later with, you know, more sales, and
Yeah.
people started, you know, acknowledging that the PlayStation 3 was competitive. So,
Oh, I have one comment before you move on. It just crossed my mind. I remember when the PS3 came out, a friend of mine bought it right away.
oh, that was a big mistake.
Yes, and he also bought.
Now it had backwards compatibility at that point, I think.
I don't
I
remember.
think so.
But he bought the Madden game that came out with the PS3 at the time, and it was the absolute biggest piece of trash game I have ever seen in my life. It was like, you know, it wasn't even as good as the PS2 ones.
Wow.
Like the graphics were shit,
Oh.
the announcers were shit. It was really strange. I don't know what happened. So if that was like Madden 06 maybe or something, whatever it would have been.
Oh.
But
Yeah.
it was complete trash. It was probably one of the
Is that the one
worst.
with Donovan McNabb on the cover?
I don't remember.
Okay, I might have had that
I
one.
just remember this game was terrible. It was such a poor representation of a new console that it blew my mind.
Oh,
Now,
wow.
obviously, there was huge improvements after that and everything, but that's what I remember about.
No, I think those Madden games are the same.
I just remember when that came out, you know, this dude brings over this brand new console, he's all pumped about it, puts this Madden game on. We used to play Madden all the time, and that game was complete trash.
Did he end up, you know, did he get that Ring of Death or whatever? You know what I'm talking about?
What happened
There's
with
early
that
PlayStation
was we
Pro.
got a yellow light of death.
Yeah, that's what it was.
Yes, and we learned on YouTube or whatever how to fix that. You had to
Oh.
take it apart. You had to get some special epoxy and a heat gun.
Yeah, I remember something
And,
melted onto the motherboard.
Yeah. We repaired it I think twice.
Twice.
And you know, each time it would work for a little while, like a month or something, and then it would happen again. And then the third time this happened, this dude basically threw his PS3 in the trash, and he's been a PC gamer ever since.
Oh,
So,
okay. That's funny. Yeah. All right. So I ended up getting a PlayStation 3 like way late, so I didn't have any of that kind of fun. At number 7, I have the Wii. So I actually have
Okay.
this above its competition for that generation. And
Wow.
there's one simple fact is I was at that right age group where the Wii was just like so cool, right? You had the Mario Kart, which was now like better graphics, and you could actually play online with your friends, and I did that an awful lot. And then you also had all your party games. So I was like, again, like, you know, early middle school age. So
Yeah.
you'd have maybe, you know, somebody come over and you'd play a dance game
Yeah.
or something like that.
yeah, I remember people always doing the like Wii Sports.
Yeah.
Like that was the cool thing. It was like, hey, like, come over and play like Wii Sports, but I never knew anybody that actually had any good games for it. It was like everybody just did like these party games.
That's
There
all
was,
it
like, Wii
really
Sports and
was.
stuff like that. They
Yep.
weren't anything that I would consider like a great game.
Okay.
But you know, I guess you got to give it credit for its motion abilities and the controllers and things like that.
Yeah, it was seamless and it was really good. I don't know. And again, I took it as like a party console, but I think that's what's great about, you know, consoles and gaming in general. It's more of a social thing
Yeah.
than say like watching a movie.
Yeah.
Anyway, above that, I have the PlayStation 2.
Okay.
So this was my introduction to like real gaming. This is when I started to get into it. After having had Super Nintendo for so long, you kind of, getting in and getting out of gaming.
Yeah.
I was given the opportunity, I was told that I want money to go towards my first car, or would I want a console? And as like a 10-year-old, I was just like, that's simple.
Yeah,
And so I spent that money on my PlayStation 2. I had to share it with my sister. And my first game, I believe, was Spyro Enter the Dragonfly.
Okay.
And I played the heck out of that game. And then immediately got like a Mortal Kombat game, Deadly Alliance. And there was no going back from there.
Yeah.
I just played video games all the time.
Yeah, I remember on the PS2 just playing the shit out of a Gran Turismo. I don't know
Yes.
what that was, like maybe
Gran Turismo
4?
3 or 4.
Yeah, okay, 3
Yep.
or 4, and we just played the hell out of Gran Turismo.
Same.
A couple of my friends would come over all the time, and my mom would bring the cold pops down. We had our game room down in the basement, and we'd be drinking pops, sodas for you people, drinking the sodas, and we would just race against each other for hours. Everybody pick a similar car, and away you go. And it was, man, I wasted hours of my life.
My favorite genres too, is just racing games. So you have like that, and in the same kind of memory, I had a friend that had Gran Turismo. When I went over to his place, I played it, and then I immediately had to like convince my parents to go out and buy Gran Turismo 3 for me. So then next, number 5, I have the NES.
Okay, all right.
So this is more so just because of the time period. I don't think it really holds up today. It's not unplayable, but it just doesn't hold like the replayability for me. But especially after playing it on the Switch, right? I'm like, I could be playing other stuff.
I actually still have an original Nintendo.
Oh.
It's actually plugged into my living room currently. And one game that I do still love to play on there is Tecmo Super Bowl.
Okay.
Which was
It's a football game?
Yes. It was, I think, the first licensed football game. So it had all the NFL teams at the time, all the players. Great game.
No John Madden though.
No, there's no announcer. It's made by Tecmo, so it's actually a Japanese, made by a Japanese company, right? So
it's like some Japanese guy being like.
It's almost like a Japanese interpretation. There's no announcer. there's no announcer. It's an incredible game. To me, that's one of the greatest games of all time, even though it is a sports game.
Okay. So next on my list at number 4, I have the Game Boy Color, Game Boy, like the original Game Boy, I guess, and the Game Boy Advance.
So
and I gave them all up.
Yeah.
Get all the Game Boys.
All the Game Boys combined into one super console.
Yes. So I played the heck out of the Game Boy. And the real reason why I have it so high is, again, I'm that perfect age group growing up in the 90s, like the late 90s specifically is when I was kind of gaming. So, like the kid kind of gaming. So I was playing like a lot of Pokemon, for example.
Okay.
And that was like all on the Game Boy. All my friends were talking about it and playing that.
Yeah.
And so that's like all of it. Elementary school, that was the shit to have. So,
Nice.
Did you have a Game Boy at all? You would have been older, but
Right. People my age, I'm pretty sure, had Game Boys.
yeah, my cousin had one.
I did not, unfortunately. What I did have is my handheld games from Tiger Electronics. So there's probably going to be like me and my brother are going to be the only people who remember these things. But they were individual handheld games, so it only had one game in it. Like I remember I had like a Off-Road. I don't know if you remember the truck like racing game Off-Road. It was an arcade game back in the 80s and stuff. But anyway, like I had an Off-Road racing game. I had like a 1942, whatever that game was called.
Did it have like graphics? Did it look like a video game?
They have graphics, but it was basically a screen where the screen sort of was like almost like art. So there was like a permanent image on the screen, and then you
So it
had
was more like an Etch-a-Sketch.
well, then you had an LCD like over top of that,
Okay.
and there would be very minuscule like graphics. So like everything could only move into the same position. Like I had like some sort of like kung fu or karate game. So like your guy could only move like 3 steps forward and then like punch or kick, and you could like jump too. So like but. It wasn't like today's games where you could move anywhere in the environment. You had your positions were set in the game, but you could only move like 3 paces. So a lot of it would be like just like avoiding stuff. You know, like you would see your enemy, like he would step up and like punch, and you could just like step back.
It'd be
Stuff
like,
like that.
your Mr. Watch or whatever, Game and Watch from.
Yeah, that kind of thing. Very, very simple, like these LCD screen
Okay.
games. Yeah.
So on the same note, I'm gonna jump around on my list, but I have what maybe should have been on the top of my list is Pox. Again, no one, like you said, no one's gonna know what the heck I'm talking about. But feel free to Google it.
Yeah, I did not know what you were talking about either when you first mentioned it to me. Pox is P-O-X.
Yeah, Pox. Yep, P-O-X. I don't know if there's supposed to be periods in between each letter or not, but it doesn't matter. You
For
type that
Googling,
in,
it doesn't matter.
nope, you'll find it, and it is glorious. It's like the same thing that you were talking about. It's still images, except the idea for this one is you like had other kids with like a pox on them. They're aliens by the way, and as you're in a proximity with the other one, your aliens will be fighting. And whoever wins gets like experience for their alien.
Okay.
And then there's also like a single player kind of mode where your alien needs to navigate through mazes to get experience, and it gets progressively harder for you to get more
So you can get
experience.
experience that way, like if your alien keeps getting its ass kicked by other aliens, you can
Right.
at least do like single player experience.
Right. And so these were actually really difficult mazes from what I remember. Again, I was like a kid, so maybe not now, I don't know.
Yeah.
But and then you would just swap out body parts. It had like 3 portions of the alien
Okay.
that you like upgrade. So you change the heads, you change the bodies, and you change the legs.
It sounds incredible.
Yeah, it was. It was an amazing game. Again, probably should be number 1 on my list. But I feel like it was ahead of its time, honestly, because you're like combating with people, proximity. It's like what people do with their phones. Like, I don't know, what's a good example? Okay, going back to Pokemon Go.
I've seen
people
Pokemon
doing
Go,
that.
kind of thing, yeah.
And so at where did I leave off? Oh, number 4. Okay, so at number 3, a console I did not own, however, I had a bunch of friends that had them, was the Nintendo 64.
Okay.
This one was pretty great, again, for people my age, because it had the introduction of like Super Smash Brothers.
Oh, okay.
It had, again, more Mario Kart. And like again, it came out at the same time frame as like when Game Boy Color was big.
Okay,
Game
that's
Boy Advance.
1996, according to my notes, was when the N64
Oh,
came out.
I would have only been like 4 years old. I remember it like, wow.
Well, your friends probably had it like as you were older.
Yeah,
and you
no
still
kidding.
played it.
Yeah, and so they had like Pokemon Stadium, for example, and stuff like that on the Nintendo 64. So and that's where you poured in, your Game Boy into the console and played in 3D kind of a thing.
Okay, yeah, so that was 96 on the N64, and the GameCube was 2001.
Oh, okay. So as you can tell, I'm probably not going to get to the GameCube in the good portion of my list. At number 2, again, this has to do with just, the history of it, is the Atari 2600.
Okay, yeah.
I have that at number 2.
I have that on my list as well for the history, so. Yeah.
Right, where do you have that on your list? I'm curious.
Number 3, actually. I have it at number
So
3.
you have 2 things in front. I'm curious what you have. But yeah, again, the games don't really hold up. I
Right.
played a bunch of them. I had like a plug and play version
Right,
of this.
I can't think of what that's called now, the arcade thing, it has the built-in games.
Mhm.
Yeah, my parents actually have one, believe it or not, and I agree with you, I don't know if you know this, but a lot of those original Atari games were created and programmed by one guy.
Yeah.
Which is of course not really possible with today's games. But that may be part of the reason why they don't hold up, but also the software limitations of the time.
Right.
But yes, I go back and play that arcade.
E.T. You're playing E.T. a lot.
Yes, I did own one of the copies of that E.T. game that someone actually purchased for some reason. I have no idea why. I would have been like 2 years old when that thing came out. But I did have one. Terrible game. I would love to go back and play it now and be like, what in the hell is going on here? Because I remember as a kid having no fucking clue what was going on with that thing. Anyway, but you're right. I have trouble going back and playing a lot of those games because I'm just like, quite frankly, they are terrible.
Yeah. Those ones with tanks.
Yeah.
That one was actually good. I like that one. I went back and played that, and it was fun.
I remember having some games that I really enjoyed as a kid. I think it was called River Raid, was one where you're like this plane and you're like flying up a river. There was another one with a helicopter that was a lot of fun. You just had like this yellow helicopter flying like straight across the screen.
Oh, I think I played that one, yeah.
That one was a lot of fun. So I mean, there were good games. Frogger, of course, would have been
Yes.
on 2600. So you know, there were some good ones, but a lot of stuff that it's hard to go back to now for sure.
Okay. And then at number 1, best console that that I've ever played is the original Xbox.
Really? What?
Yep.
Original
I have that as
Xbox?
number 1. Game-changing console.
Original Xbox from 2001.
Yes.
You are calling the number 1 console.
Right.
That's very
Yeah.
interesting because I can't wait to tell you what my number 1 console is. I hope you haven't seen it on my notes.
No, I can't read from there.
Okay.
So the Xbox for me was like the dawn of online gaming as we know it. It built a community around, let's say, Halo,
Mhm.
where today it's commonplace that you have a blockbuster game like Call of Duty that everyone's playing online. It's a social community built around a singular game.
Mhm.
Well, Xbox really created that with like Halo and other games like it that I just can't recall off the top of my head. And then the user interface and things like that really just, again, everyone's been copying them ever since. They came out with a controller that now everyone uses as the standard for how a controller should feel.
I think I actually have one nearby here that I plug into my computer.
Oh, and so that's kind of just why.
Yeah,
just
no, those
changed
are
gaming,
really good points and a very good reason to put it at number 1. And I remember Halo being such a like community thing, you know, and you would just get your friends together and play Halo, and that was what 2001 that came out, which I would have been in college at the time, so that was a big thing. You know, people were getting together and playing Halo.
I mean, it got to the extent that growing up, my parents had this neighbor, this lady who's literally like, you know, in her 50s, and when I was over, she was just like, "Do you want to play Halo?"
Yeah.
So I'd play some Halo with this lady.
Wow,
That's how crazy that game got. So,
awesome.
Did you want to show like near the top of your list, and then we'll talk about some crappy consoles?
Yeah, let me do. I have my list divided into 3 sections here. I've got the ones I didn't rank, the ones that were complete shit, and then my like top 8 or so. It's really probably like a top 10, but I combined a couple of them. So let me run through a couple real quick that I did not rank, mostly because I didn't have experience with them. But just since this is called the list, let's throw them out there. You've got some old school stuff: the ColecoVision, Commodore 64, Neo Geo, Sega CD.
What the?
Yeah, so I'm gonna let this cat out of the bag. Earlier, I was talking to Sean and I mentioned the Sega Genesis, and he said, "Is it the Genesis or the Dreamcast?" And I was like, "Dude, what are you talking about? There's so many Segas you don't even know about." So, but more of those will be covered in my list of ones that were complete shit. So Sega CD is on my list of stuff, not ranked. I actually, just due to my own experience, I actually have the original Xbox on my ones that I'm not going to discuss. GameCube, there's the new Atari VCS, I don't want to really talk about new stuff, so that's a weird one. TurboGrafx 16 and TurboGrafx CD, Nintendo DS, N64 I also didn't rank due to lack of experience. Now, wasn't N64 the one that had GoldenEye?
Yes.
Because I remember people going nuts about GoldenEye.
Yes,
And that was kind of before Halo. That was the thing. It was like people would get together and play GoldenEye.
Right. And it was competitive. It was the couch, competition.
Yeah, right. Because even when I was in college, which would have been years after.
People are still playing GoldenEye today.
Okay, as I say, even in the early 2000s, people were still getting together and playing GoldenEye.
Yes.
And so you're saying even today, people are still getting together and playing GoldenEye. Also on my list of stuff that I'm not going to talk about, Xbox 360, the Wii, the PS Vita or the PSP, and the Xbox One.
You didn't have a Wii?
I did not. Now, was the GameCube the one that had those big Wavebird controllers? Do you remember these things?
I feel like that was Nintendo 64.
Because one of them.
Is that the one with you're talking about with the middle?
Yeah.
That was the 64.
Okay, so N64. One of my friends in college had one of those, and I actually ended up smashing one of his Wavebirds because of that goddamn blue shell. And playing Mario Kart obviously, and I gave myself a self-imposed ban on playing Mario Kart. I eventually replaced that guy's Wavebird like 10 years later and lifted my Mario Kart ban.
Yeah.
Although I don't think even still, this would have been in the early 2000s, probably like 2003. I still don't think I've played Mario Kart since then.
Oh my
So anyway. So
yeah,
those
I'm
are
not going to give you the Switch to chuck across the room.
Anyway, so those are consoles I'm not going to talk about. I don't know how much of my top 8 or so do you want me to go through? Because I was surprised by some of yours that some of the stuff you had lower, I had much higher.
Or whatever you want.
So, all right, I'll just say towards the bottom of my like top 10, top 8, I actually have the PS3 and the PS4 together.
Oh, okay. Yeah, they're very similar.
And that's just kind of, I just kind of felt like they're very similar. It's not like they were really game-changing consoles.
Evolutionary, not revolutionary.
Yeah, not revolutionary, evolutionary. But, they're 2 consoles that I own and I've played an awful lot of. Actually, probably have played more PS4 than PS3 at this point. But as we'll discuss later, I've been a Sony guy since about 1994. So,
You're
so
dating yourself.
yeah, the PS3, the PS4, it'll get worse. Don't worry. PS3, PS4, I have that at number 8. At number 7, I put the Game Boy, even though I didn't personally have one. I put it there just because I felt like that too was a bit of a game changer as far as portable gaming goes.
Absolutely.
So at the Game Boy.
Pokemon.
Yeah.
That's like basically what I have to say for Game Boy. Then you're like, oh yeah, that's right. It should be able to talk about this.
Well, there was Mario games for Game Boy and stuff. So.
Who played that?
People my age, dude.
Nobody played that.
Anyway.
I played Frogger and Pokemon.
Well, anyway. Moving on from Game Boy, since that's clearly a point of contention. Next up, I have the original PlayStation PS1 from 1994. And so the reason I said I was a Sony guy since 1994, I told you this before, but me and my brother, we were trying to decide what console our parents would be nice enough to get us for Christmas, and it was between the PlayStation and the Sega Saturn. And what sold me on the PlayStation was Twisted Metal. I think I went to a store and played Twisted Metal, on one of those displays they used to have in stores, and I was like, "This is freaking awesome!" So I was like, "We gotta get the PlayStation so I can play Twisted Metal." And like the day I got my PlayStation for Christmas, I got Twisted Metal, and I hooked that thing up right away. I was freaking playing. Like I beat one of the characters I won before we even had breakfast on Christmas morning. So Twisted Metal is still one of my all-time favorite games. And I personally kind of love the PS1. I've gone back and played it a little bit. I still have one.
Yeah.
But it's not great.
It doesn't hold up.
It doesn't really
So
hold
this
up.
is more like a sentimental thing?
Yes, for me it is a bit sentimental. But I also kind of felt like the PS1 was a bit of a game changer at the time too. But that was for me because
I don't understand that.
Because you're going into disc-based games then.
Oh, now you're getting into hardware.
So that's why to me it was a bit of a game changer because you weren't really doing everything was cartridge based still at the time.
But then you can't blow with your disc. It's no fun.
Right. I mean you could, but anyway. Next up after that, I think I kind of would put these two together, which would be the Super NES and the Sega Genesis.
Okay.
Which again
who wouldn't have played the Sega? Nobody.
Well, I'm gonna get to that.
One game.
So here's the thing with what's the one game? Sonic for you?
Sonic.
Right.
That's all I know.
So with me, 2 of my friends, one had the Super NES, one had the Sega. I would go to the one dude's house and we'd just play Mario Kart all the time.
You'd be best friends with him.
Right. Then I go to the other dude's house and there's only our historical expert co-worker. He knows this game. He still owns this game on the Sega Genesis, Desert Strike.
Okay.
Freaking loved that game.
Oh,
dude.
really?
It's a helicopter game made by Electronic Arts, and you would fly through the desert firing these Hellfire missiles at people. It was incredible. Love that game. So for me, Super NES, Sega Genesis.
Okay, they're on par then, I guess.
And then at number 3 here, I had the Atari 2600,
Uh-huh.
as we previously discussed. At number 2, I had the original NES.
Oh,
Which, you know, to me again is kind of a sentimental thing. That was the first console that I really owned. I'm pretty sure that 2600 actually like belonged to my parents.
Mhm.
So I remember me and my brother so excited to get that original NES for Christmas one year. And I think our parents kind of messed with us that like we weren't gonna get one.
oh, okay.
So then of course we unwrapped it and we were so pumped, like couldn't believe we got this Nintendo. By the end of Nintendo, so I kind of skipped to the SNES phase. I had over 100 Nintendo games.
Oh,
So,
wow.
Yeah, so kind of loved the Nintendo. And then my number 1 console, I went with the PS2.
Well, you didn't tell me what your favorite NES game was.
Well, this is kind of a weird one because one of my favorite, well, I did tell you because it was
If you have 100 games, you're good.
Tecmo Super Bowl, of course.
Okay,
Would
yeah,
have
you
been one
said
of my
that.
favorite. And one of my other ones was an obscure game that came out towards the end of the life of the NES. Was a game called Nightshade.
Oh, I don't know.
There's not a lot of people that know about this game. There's a weird new system coming out we talked about before. It's called the Polymega,
Okay. Yeah.
which is going to allow for it's basically if you have like old games like old PS1 games and things like that you don't have a PS1 for, you can play them on this Polymega. It's supposed to be compatible with like
Like an emulator.
with all your
Yeah,
CD-based games, but you can actually it'll play your CDs, and you can get an adapter to play your old like NES cartridges and stuff like that. But this Nightshade game actually comes with the Polymega.
Oh, wow.
That's how incredible this game
Must be
was.
the best ever. I wonder if it's on my my Switch.
Maybe look it up, dude. I mean, I actually have it upstairs. On my Nintendo that I still have. So love that game. So anyway, my number 1 console, I went with the PS2. Really simply because I'm pretty sure the PS2 is the best-selling console
Probably.
of all time. I'm pretty sure it was the highest-selling console. So I put that at number 1.
That's because
Just
it came out with like
for
2 versions of it. That's like cheating. Because I ended up owning like 3 PS2s. You had like the fat PS2,
right.
and then we had like 2 of those, and then the PS2 Slim came out,
Right.
and then that was way better because this was at like the same time that, for whatever reason, like minivans had like TVs on the ceilings, which they still kind of do, I guess.
Yeah.
But then you'd have like your hookup and stuff like that. You'd be able to hook up the PlayStation and
Yeah.
2
Right.
to the minivan.
Right. So yeah. So that was for me. PS2, top-selling console. So I put that at number 1.
Okay, all right. Can't complain with that. All right, let's now go through the crappier consoles.
All right. Do you
And
have
work towards the bottom.
some shitty ones?
Oh, I had some shitty ones.
All right. Do you want to go first?
Sure. At number 11, I have not exactly shitty. PlayStation 4, Xbox One.
Okay.
I have those kind of merged together. They both of them were just pretty comparable to each other. They had some exclusives that I really love. The PlayStation 4's God of War like sequel / remake reboot.
Okay. Yeah.
One of the best games I've ever played. But then Xbox One has, again, go back to like just Halo. They come out with a new Halo and it's going to sell and be good. Except I don't think it's made by Bungie anymore. So it's more made by Microsoft and not quite as good. But anyway, as far as hardware goes and stuff like that, they're definitely comparable. At number 12, I have, sorry to say, PlayStation 1.
Well, I mean, I'm not offended. I mean, I'm 10 years older than you, and the PS1 came out in 1994, so you were like 2.
Right.
So.
So again, I had a friend that had a PlayStation 1, and I remember he pretty much strictly played Tony Hawk Pro Skater on it, and that was basically all I can think of.
Yeah,
as
I had a
PlayStation
friend. I remember going to like a party once. I mean, I was like a preteen, right? So it wasn't some wild party, but hanging out with my friends playing video games. And we had this friend and he was a real sore loser, and he thought he was good at Tony Hawk, but all he did was freaking randomly mash buttons and like get lucky. And then he played one of our friends who was really good at Tony Hawk, and he was just getting freaking destroyed all the time. He could do like those like head-to-head matches, And this kid was just getting freaking destroyed, and he would get so pissed, and he was like, "Whatever, I'm just playing for fun. I'm just playing for fun." And we just, me and my friends always thought that was so funny because who says, "Oh, I'm just playing for fun," but sound really pissed off about it?
Yeah. It's like you're trying to tell the other guy, like, relax,
Yeah.
chill, let me win.
Yeah. But no, he just kept whooping his ass, man.
At number 13, I have the Nintendo DS. This is one that I don't know. My sister had a DS growing up. I know she played like some really big cooking games and stuff like that. I don't think it had a whole.
There was
lot
a
of
Mario
games.
Kart though. There's a Mario Kart on the DS.
Yeah, I think she actually had that, and that was actually fairly good. But I don't know. At the same time, we had like the Wii, so and we had Mario Kart for the Wii. So if you're gonna play Mario Kart, we would hop on that. I don't know. Next, number 14, I had the GameCube.
Okay.
This is where I put the GameCube for the simple fact that this had, your another Mario Kart, but it was like dual characters, so you have two characters on the cart,
Yeah.
and then that really
You're
switched up,
right.
and that was,
That
like,
was
better
the
Mario
one.
Karts.
That is the one that I smashed the wafer while playing. Yep.
Oh yeah, because you could plug in the Wavebird into the
This is all bringing back like my Mario Kart road rage.
What was the GameCube controller like? I need to.
It had that weird joystick down like in the middle.
No, that's N64.
Is that one that's
That's the N64's
Okay.
controller, I swear. I don't know what the GameCube controller looked like.
I think it looked like the back with the.
Well, probably. I think a lot of people used the N64 controller because it was better. But anyway, number 15, I have the Sega Dreamcast.
Okay.
And again, I only knew about any of these because of Sonic. So
Yeah, Sega Dreamcast, that came out, according to my notes, in 1998. I don't know shit about the Dreamcast, because I never played one. One of my friends in college actually had one, and he said it was great because you could copy games. So he didn't pay for like any games. He had like hundreds of games for his Dreamcast, and they were all like bootlegs somehow. I think you could even put like multiple games on like a CDR.
Okay.
And so he was just playing all of his games off like burnt CDs somehow. So that was, I guess, a great.
They made any money.
Yeah, that was a great thing about the Dreamcast. Apparently, you could just play pirated games easily.
It's great. At number 16, I have the Wii U. I
Okay.
think I've only seen one person with a Wii U, and they didn't even like use it.
This is really great because I have these consoles in my list under the heading ones that were complete trash. And so you've named the Wii U and the Dreamcast for both ones that I had in the complete trash section.
Okay. Yeah. So what games were even out for the Wii U? And I don't even quite get its shtick. I think like the Switch, you could pick it up and take it with you. But it was just really massive or something like that.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know, like, what's the difference between a Wii and the Wii U?
I think that they're very different. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I don't
This
know.
didn't have the whole like moving your hands around. I don't
Okay.
think. Like the Wii.
So it's more standard console.
It's more standard console that you can pick up and take on the go.
Okay, alright.
But even that, I'm just fuzzy on.
Yeah.
I don't think I played the Wii U. I just knew somebody that.
Yeah, I
had it.
definitely never played one.
Yeah. And I don't think it sold well either. So.
Yeah, I don't think it was around very long.
No. Number 17, I have the PS Vita and the PSP.
Okay.
Now I do know some kids, and this is kind of why it's down so far. I knew some kids on my school bus, they were a little bit older than me, that had PSPs, and they would watch like videos on the PSP on the bus.
Okay.
Less so because they actually wanted to watch videos, I think, but more so because they wanted to flex on the rest of us. They
Right.
spent like their parents spent like $600 to have them
Oh man.
a PSP. And those are some douchey kids anyway, so whatever. At number 18, I have what probably should be number 1, that Pox. The Pox that I said about. Because that was, again, just so great, really revolutionary. a lot of replayability.
Yeah, I mean, it just sounds incredible.
Yeah.
It's probably controversial to include it in the list about consoles, but it's our podcast. We do whatever the hell we want. So
If you have a complaint, you can email us at, go ahead, Kevin.
podcast called The List at gmail.com. It will go directly to our opinionated list maker, Sean Preller. He'll personally email you back.
I will personally forward it to Kevin's personal email. At number 19, I have, because I just find it so interesting that it's even gonna come out and I think it's junk, is the Google Stadia.
Oh, geez, I forgot that's been out for a while.
Yeah,
Yeah.
what the hell is this thing?
Well, I think you
And
just
who wants it?
don't you just stream games through it?
Yeah,
It's just
who
a
wants that though? It's
right. What's the point? I don't get it. I totally forgot about the Stadia. I'm glad you brought that up. That's not anywhere on my list. I probably should have added it to ones that were complete trash.
Yeah, but I was trying to look up like consoles that maybe I would have forgotten about, that weren't just like really old consoles that I have no clue about anyway. The Google Stadia came up and I just kind of giggled to myself. I'm like, oh yeah, that's a thing.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's at the bottom of my list.
Wow. Totally forgot.
Yeah, so that's my list. That's all I got.
All right. Let me just do a couple real quick ones that were on my list of stuff that was complete trash. The Atari Jaguar. Have you heard of this thing?
I've heard of the Jaguar because that's a cool ass name.
Yeah, I don't remember much about it. There was Atari Jaguar from 1993, so it was still, I believe, cartridge based, trying to compete with the new disc based like PlayStation 1. And
So
then
that came out around the same time.
yeah. So Atari Jaguar 1993, PS1 was 1994, I believe. So the Jaguar was still doing the cartridges. Then they did come out. Then also on my list of things that were complete trash. 2 years later, 1995, the Jaguar CD.
Okay.
And I think one of the problems with these was there weren't a lot of games for them.
Yeah.
Yeah, they were making games for PlayStation. They weren't making games for Atari, so there wasn't a big catalog or library of games. So that
Do
didn't
you
help.
think there's a reason why? Was Atari just trying
I don't
to
know.
stick with like the
I
one
don't
developer kind of?
Yeah, I don't know. I know there's a history behind it, and I'm sure I've read it before, but I don't remember now why there wasn't a lot of games for it. But
If you know, email us. No.
yeah, it's a podcast called The List at gmail.com. Bringing back Segas that Sean didn't know about, Sega Saturn. So like I said before, me and my brother were trying to decide between the PS1 and the Sega Saturn at the time. We went with the PS1. It turned out to be the right choice because the Sega Saturn was short-lived after that, really. So as far as I remember, those were the two big disc-based consoles at the time, Sega Saturn and the PlayStation 1. So
So
then,
that immediately replaced the Jaguar CD.
Saturn came out in 1994, supposedly.
Oh.
So Jaguar CD came out in 95. So Atari was sitting there with
Say all three of those.
Yeah, they were all out, 93, 94, 95. And Jaguar was probably like, oh crap, we've got to switch to disc. So they made the Jaguar CD, which I don't remember for sure. I could be wrong about this, but I almost feel like the CD may have actually been potential to be an add-on that you could like replace your regular Jaguar with like a CD, like attach it to the Jaguar. I could be wrong about that, but either way, it was trash. Sega Saturn, also trash. Sega Dreamcast is next on my list.
I feel like this is biased.
It is
You're
a
just
little bit.
trashing everything
Also
that you don't
trash.
have.
But I did put the Sega Genesis, up in my top like 5. And one of the reasons for the Sega Genesis, a little game called Mutant Football. Have you ever played Mutant Football?
No idea what you're talking about.
So Desert Strike, Mutant Football, incredible games on the Sega Genesis. Atari Jaguar, all their games were shit, I'm pretty sure. Saturn didn't have Twisted Metal, so their games were probably shit. Dreamcast was apparently great if you just wanted to steal games from people. And then I had another one that I don't know if you remember, the Nintendo Virtua Boy.
Oh,
In my research, that did not come up as a console. It wasn't listed in in the generations of consoles, and I'm not really sure why it wasn't. Why it wouldn't come up as a console. This thing, it was all red and black. So, and it had like almost like a viewfinder thing. Like you basically, stuck your face like in this like viewfinder. And I remember it was on like a tripod.
I've heard about this. This had a Mario game or something like that that was damaging kids'
I
eyes.
don't
It was
know.
like Dr. Mario or something.
Dude.
Was hurting kids' eyes.
Was there a Dr. Mario on the Virtual Boy? Because there's a
I-
Dr. Mario on the original Nintendo.
I
Which
don't
of course
know.
is
I don't
a-
know what it was, but it was something I heard somewhere that it was. Like,
It was all red and black.
Yeah.
So it was like the background was black and the graphics were just red lines.
uh-huh.
And it was supposed to be like 3D.
Yeah,
But it was shit. It was just red and black
yeah.
shit.
Giving
So
kids cataracts.
apparently, yeah. They're like an 8-year-old with cataracts. This
I don't
freaking
know.
9-year-old kid smoking marijuana for his glaucoma after playing the Virtual Boy. So there you go. I would say, based on our discussion just now, Nintendo Virtual Boy, biggest piece
Best
of shit.
console. Oh, yeah.
Biggest
That's
piece
it.
of shit console, giving kids glaucoma. They're smoking pot now for their glaucoma because they played the Virtual Boy. And that's it, man.
Great success. Successful podcast.
All right, man.
Got off to a great start, finished on a high note.
All right, so I mean that's going to be it for this week. We'll cue up the outro music and join us. Hopefully next time we'll have the special Ride or Die edition of the
Ooh, I
podcast.
wonder what you prefer.